Sitting here talking with the founder of Work Reduce. Tell us a little bit about, your observations about CES so far. It's Wednesday. You're
Yeah.
smiling. You're feeling good. Any big one or two things that have sort of opened your eyes?
No, I mean CES for me is really about like being here with the people, like the talent and companies that are gathered together, accessing all those folks and seeing what's going on. That's what it's really about to me. Like the rest of it, it's like I took a ride in a self-driving car just now. Same as last year though. It hasn't really changed anything. So I think the broader kind of show is not that interesting, but it's really about people exchanging ideas and being kind of in close proximity, and a lot of the just chance encounters that you have here are really phenomenal.
It's all about people.
It's all about people.
Which is ironically, which is your business.
Right? So I have a little bit of a bias there.
So give us the elevator ride on Work Reduce, which I think is a great story.
Sure. I mean, Work Reduce is where advertising and the future of work intersect, right? So we have a team of remote media experts. They're all U.S. based, and we help our agency and brand clients access that talent. So there's that famous, I think, Neil Stephenson quote that the future's here. It's just not evenly distributed. Well, we're dragging these guys into the future and helping them kind of get there faster.
Historically, agencies have always been about having people in one place.
Yes.
And you're just taking that quote. You're reimagining place as almost a non sequitur.
Yes.
How has that journey been? Was it harder now? Is it easier now? Is that no longer an issue?
It's getting easier. The agencies, I think in general, for a range of reasons, are really forced to reconsider how they think about talent. The brands are as well. So it might be, if you're an agency, that you have a hard time attracting and retaining talent in New York. Or if you're a brand, you might not have access to the talent you need in San Diego, right? So wherever you are, there's going to be some kind of challenge, right? And we're sitting there saying, well, if you remove that barrier, then your talent problem gets that much easier. And if you walk through an agency, even in New York, I could be sitting right next to you and we could be talking over Slack or Google Hangouts, right? So people are already acting, in this kind of like virtual and remote way, but the companies are a little slow to catch up in their hiring practices.
I've had several conversations with different people, and you're right, the connections that happen here in Las Vegas are always interesting, and everyone is talking about the talent issue.
Yes.
And so you're obviously filling a much needed role. What's been the biggest challenge in growing the business?
There is no end to the challenges in growing a business. Like if I had to pick one, I think
one or two.
So, getting our message out, right, and figuring out how to do that has been the right way to get the message in front of people. Has been a real learning experience for me. My background is in software engineering primarily, and I've never worked at an agency. So the other big challenge is kind of like, hey, understanding how do you run a company, right? Just from the blocking and tackling side of it. And B, like, what is it that our agency or brand partners really need, right? So there's been a long kind of educational process for me. One of my kind of advisors and mentors, calls it paying tuition in your kind of street MBA. So I've paid a fair amount of tuition at this point. So I think it's starting to come around.
Agencies are not necessarily known as great places of process. Obviously, coming from your background, structure and process and building what you're doing is a core component.
Yeah.
How has that been getting people to feel comfortable moving into this very successfully, conceptually world of process for them?
Well, we try to ease the burden for them. When we go into an agency, the management level people might say, hey, cool, we've got all these great processes in place. And then when we go in and actually engage with the teams, find out that they're not being used, they're not up to date. So we'll go in and actually either create or update those processes. So regardless of whether they keep working with us, just by engaging, they've taken a step forward operationally. And then we've got a million ideas that we bring out of the world of software, or even concepts like checklist-driven processes that are really successful in medicine and general aviation to prevent, problems and very serious problems. We're bringing that into play and always talking about it. So, we just hope there's a kind of, in the worst case, there's an ambient effect of just by engaging with us, kind of becoming more operationally mature.
We talk a lot about in our business sometimes about success from the past. I think a lot of us are sort of sitting there now. It's January 2020.
Yes.
It's time for a new decade, a new mentality. We've seen what works, what doesn't. What gets you excited about the next 12, 24 months? What's out there that we should be thinking about that you're already looking at?
So to me, I think what I'm actually excited about is I think what a lot of people in the advertising industry are maybe frightened of, right? There's, a big impact pending from things like CCPA, GDPR. There are potentially major shifts occurring between agencies and brands bringing media buying in-house. There's pending regulatory scrutiny of big tech. And that's all change that I think can make people nervous, and we're leaning right into it. I mean, that's the area that we want to really occupy and just, lean into all those issues.
How do you find the talent across the country? What is the sauce of getting the people into that platform?
So for us, it is about doing a data-driven analysis of talent and then offering a working environment that's more appealing. So when you put those two things together, right, use data to be able to more rapidly and effectively identify good people and then give them an experience that's better than working in an office where you don't have to commute, you can care for your kids or parents and have a good work-life balance and shut that laptop at the end of the day and be done with it. It's a great and I think really appealing experience for people.
Thank you.